Last weekend, our daughter texted me, "Mom, do you want to see the Barbie movie?" My reaction was, "Barbie, you never even liked Barbie as a child. Why do you want to see the movie?" Annie's response was, "I've seen a lot of good reviews. I want to see it for myself." I couldn't help but think of my own experience of Barbie as a child. In our home, Barbie lived on the mantle over the fireplace in the living room and was shared among the three of us who were born within 4 years of each other. Her wardrobe was limited to a swimsuit and a ball gown. So we didn't have that experience of a lot of changes of clothes. And I think at the time there was some question of whether this adult doll was really suitable for these young girls. Despite Mattel's history of, let's just say, sluggish evolution to make Barbie be more representative, and my own skepticism going in, it turns out I went to the movie, and the deeper message of the Barbie movie is be yourself. Accept everything about yourself, flaws and all. Who knew? The movie opens with Barbie living in the utopia of Barbie land, where diverse Barbies live in dream houses. There's a proliferation of pink, and they run the world. And all is calm until stereotypical Barbie begins thinking about her mortality, discovers cellulite in her thighs, and her arched feet go flat. Ultimately prompting a trip to the real world. The real world brings rude awakenings for Barbie. Barbie realizes that women are not treated equally, and white men rule not just Mattel, but the world. Barbie meets her real world owner, Gloria, who happens to work at Mattel, and Ken, who traveled with Barbie, embraces patriarchy with both arms and makes his mission to return to Barbie land and disrupt the status quo by introducing patriarchy, which in his view means beer and horses, in a misguided attempt to woo Barbie. So some of you might be thinking, how does all of this relate to the reign of heaven or the kingdom of God? So we know in ancient Greek, the word we translate as kingdom or reign is basileia. And in the first century, it meant God's presence and rule. The basileia movement really refers to relationship more than place. And often it involves crossing thresholds. So one of my favorite scenes in the Barbie movie is when Barbie makes the choice to leave and embrace humanity rather than staying in Barbie land and remaining one-dimensional. She chooses to become a real human with emotions rather than live in an unchanging, predictable, plastic world. More than 10 years ago now, I heard the Reverend Dr. Melanie Johnson du Beaufret speak. She's a professor of New Testament and early Christianity at Drew University in Madison, New Jersey. And she envisions parables as conversation starters. Dr. Johnson Duboffre explained that Jesus really pointed to a movement centered on social dreaming and ways of living, which really served to move people toward a utopia on the horizon. So it occurs to me what we're exposed to actually changes our definition of utopia, as it did for Barbie. It certainly seems to have had that effect on her as she came to life and began to exercise agency. Barbie knew she was not stepping into a perfect world, and yet it was still one she chose to embrace. Rather than using the word kingdom, which connotes male rule, hierarchy, and imperialism, Barbie might motivate us to substitute the word kindom, no G, Kindom, which is gender neutral and emphasizes community and inclusivity. Others have suggested using expressions like the reign of love or divine commonwealth to describe this kingdom. Whichever expression we choose, we transform our world and live out this kingdom by loving our enemies, caring for and healing the sick, feeding the hungry, forgiving those who wronged us, and discovering ways to be of service. I see this vision of kingdom lived out every day in this community. But where else do we see evidence of this concept of kingdom being lived out? Last Sunday, we heard Ann Kelly speak. She expressed gratitude to this community of St. Mary Magdalene. And she shared her experience of working with women's groups on the ground in Liberia, West Africa, specifically around progress made on the issue of women owning customary land, and related how honoring tradition ultimately freed women, resulting in revolutionizing customary land ownership practices. Listening to the voices of the ancestors allowed women to use and find and own their voices. So a contemporary parable might be, the kingdom of heaven is like a customary land ownership process that includes and honors all the voices. But when you think about this concept of kingdom or reign of love, what image comes to mind? Is it a welcoming, inclusive kingdom community where people genuinely care for each other? Or do you see the pearly gates above the clouds? Is your vision one of paradise or the real world? Or is paradise the real world? Is it hierarchical or egalitarian? Grounded in the present, our present reality, our future hope, or both? Based on a place or a state of being? The kingdom it's worth thinking about what it is for you. Remain blessed.